9-year-old Tyler Madison was hiking alone on the mountain trail when the 800-pound grizzly bear emerged from the dense forest, its massive frame and aggressive posture immediately identifying the small boy as easy prey in the remote wilderness of Montana's Glacier National Park. The child had wandered away from his family's campsite while chasing a butterfly, completely unaware that he had entered the territory of one of North America's most dangerous predators during the peak of bear season. "Help me! Somebody help me!" Tyler screamed as the massive grizzly began its calculated approach, moving with the patient, deadly precision of an apex predator that had identified a helpless victim far from any possible assistance. That's when the thunder rolled across the mountain. 8 members of the Iron Mountain Guardians MC were returning from a memorial ride for fallen veterans when Club President Jake "Steel" Morrison heard something that made every protective instinct in his combat-trained body explode into action. The unmistakable sound of a child's terror echoing through wilderness that should have been empty of human presence. These battle-hardened warriors were about to face the most dangerous wildlife rescue in American motorcycle club history, proving that real brotherhood means running toward mortal danger when innocent life hangs in the balance. Would you like to join us for this incredible journey? Subscribe to our channel now so you don't miss what happens next. The Iron Mountain Guardians Motorcycle Club had been riding the highways and mountain roads of Montana for over 16 years. Their membership consisting entirely of military veterans and wilderness emergency responders who had found brotherhood and purpose through their commitment to protecting those who ventured into the unforgiving terrain of the American Northwest. What had started as weekend rides among former Army Rangers had evolved into the most respected wilderness rescue organization in the Rocky Mountain region. Jake "Steel" Morrison, the 53-year-old former Army Special Forces commander who led the Guardians, was concluding their monthly memorial ride to honor fallen soldiers when his combat-honed hearing detected something that made every alarm in his tactical awareness system detonate simultaneously. The combination of a child's desperate scream and the distinctive sounds of large animal movement through wilderness terrain was unmistakable to someone who had served in regions where such combinations meant immediate life-or-death crisis. "All units, code black emergency," Steele commanded through his helmet radio to the 7 riders behind him. "Child in mortal danger. Large predator confirmed. Immediate intervention required. This is real-world combat, brothers. Someone's about to die if we don't move now." The response was instantaneous and overwhelming. 8 motorcycles began converging on Steele's coordinates with military precision, their engines creating a mechanical thunder that announced the arrival of men who had spent their careers facing impossible odds in hostile environments where split-second decisions meant the difference between life and death. Captain Derek "Bear" Williams, a former Marine Force recon specialist who served as the Guardian's wildlife tactical coordinator, was first to establish visual contact with what would become the most dangerous animal encounter in their organization's history. "Visual confirmed," he radioed with controlled intensity. 9-year-old male, approximately 60 yards from mature grizzly bear. Bear is in stalking position, showing aggressive hunting behavior. Through his military-grade tactical scope, Bear could see Tyler Madison frozen in absolute terror as the massive grizzly approached with the patient, calculated movements of a predator that had identified easy prey in its territorial domain. The child's bright blue jacket made him clearly visible against the brown and green wilderness backdrop, but his complete paralysis was the only thing preventing the bear from triggering its charge sequence immediately. "Sweet Jesus," whispered Master Sergeant Rick "Doc" Patterson, a former Green Beret medic whose wilderness medicine training had included extensive experience with large predator attacks. "That's an adult male grizzly, probably 800 pounds minimum. One swipe will kill that kid instantly, and there's nowhere for him to run. Steele felt his special forces training engage as he processed the tactical nightmare they were confronting. A child trapped by an 800-pound grizzly bear in remote wilderness represented the kind of impossible rescue scenario that required perfect coordination, instantaneous decision-making, and the willingness to sacrifice everything to protect innocent life against overwhelming natural force. "All units, immediate predator intervention protocol," Steele ordered, his army training automatically shifting him into combat command mode. Priority 1 is child extraction under fire. Priority 2 is bear distraction and deterrence. We're going into hostile territory against a superior force, and we're bringing that boy home alive. If you're enjoying the story, write from which city you are listening to in the comments. The 8 Iron Mountain Guardians members who responded to Tyler Madison's crisis represented some of the most specialized and dangerous training available to American military forces. Former Special Forces operators, Marine Force recon specialists, Army Rangers, Navy SEALs, and wilderness survival experts, all united by their commitment to protecting innocent life, regardless of personal risk or impossible odds. The tactical situation they faced was unprecedented in civilian emergency response. The grizzly bear that was stalking Tyler represented one of nature's most efficient killing machines, capable of running 35 miles per hour, climbing trees, and delivering crushing force that could break a human skull with a single blow. Staff Sergeant Tony Scout Rodriguez, a former Army Ranger whose reconnaissance training had kept him alive through 2 tours in Afghanistan's most dangerous terrain, was conducting rapid tactical assessment of terrain, escape routes, and intervention possibilities. "Terrain analysis shows limited approach options," he reported. "Bear has positioned itself between the child and all natural escape routes. Standard wildlife deterrence may not be effective with a hunting-focused predator." The grizzly's behavior indicated that this was not a chance encounter or territorial defense, but active predation. The bear had identified Tyler as prey and was conducting the kind of patient stalking that preceded a killing attack. Every second of delay increased the probability that the predator would commit to its assault. Steele dismounted his Harley 60 yards from where Tyler stood frozen, his Special Forces training automatically calculating attack vectors, distraction strategies, and extraction possibilities. The bear had not yet triggered its final attack sequence, but grisly predation patterns indicated that commitment to attack could occur within seconds. "Doc, emergency medical protocol for grizzly attack?" Steele asked through tactical communications, understanding that bear attacks typically resulted in massive trauma requiring immediate advanced wilderness medicine. "Massive hemorrhaging, crushing injuries to skull and spine, potential dismemberment," Doc replied with clinical precision born from treating similar injuries in military settings. "If that bear connects, the child will require immediate trauma surgery that we can't provide in wilderness conditions. We have maybe 90 seconds before predation behavior shifts to active attack." Sergeant First Class Mike "Thunder" Martinez, a former Marine whose explosive ordnance disposal training had taught him to remain calm under extreme pressure, was positioning himself for what would become the most dangerous flanking maneuver of his military and civilian career. "Steele, I can create acoustic distraction from the eastern approach, but if that bear charges me instead of retreating, I'm probably dead." "Negative, Thunder," Steele replied immediately. "We coordinate as a unit or not at all. No one faces that bear alone." "Tell me, have you ever saved someone?" Steele asked himself as he prepared for the most dangerous rescue of his life, knowing that failure meant watching a child die in the most horrific way possible. If you've watched this far, say in the comments, what secret do you keep? The intervention strategy that followed would be studied by wildlife management specialists and military tacticians for years to come. Steele's Special Forces training had taught him that large predators responded to displays of overwhelming force, coordinated threats, and acoustic intimidation that made them recalculate the cost-benefit ratio of their intended attack. "All units, maximum acoustic assault," Steele commanded as he began moving toward the Grizzly and Tyler. "Full engine power, synchronized noise discipline. Make ourselves appear to be a larger threat than the boy represents as prey." 8. Harley-Davidson motorcycles began executing a tactical maneuver that had never been attempted in wilderness conditions, using synchronized engine noise as acoustic weapons to overwhelm a grizzly bear's sensory system and force recalculation of attack priorities. The mechanical thunder created by 8 high-performance engines operating at maximum capacity in the mountain wilderness was unlike anything the Grizzly had encountered during its years in Glacier National Park. The sound reverberated off canyon walls and created acoustic pressure that triggered every evolutionary instinct, telling the bear that unknown threats might be more dangerous than the small prey it had been stalking. Corporal James Phoenix Martinez, a former Air Force pararescue specialist whose training included animal behavior under extreme stress, was monitoring the grizzlies' responses to their acoustic intervention. "Bear showing confusion and defensive posturing," he reported. "Acoustic assault is creating hesitation, but predator focus remains on the child. We need secondary intervention before it commits to attack." The breakthrough came when Steele made a decision that violated every rule of safe wildlife interaction, but represented exactly the kind of calculated extreme risk that Special Forces training had prepared him for throughout his military career. He dismounted his motorcycle and began walking directly toward the grizzly, using his own body as bait to draw the bear's attention away from Tyler. "Steele, what the hell are you doing?" Bear demanded through radio communications, his voice carrying the controlled panic of a Marine who recognized suicidal tactics. "Making myself a bigger threat than Tyler represents as prey," Steele replied with supernatural calm as he approached the grizzly using non-threatening but confident body language. "If that bear's going to kill someone today, better it's me than him." The moment when Steele positioned himself between the 800-pound grizzly and 9-year-old Tyler was witnessed by 7 combat veterans who understood exactly what their commander was risking. A mature male grizzly could kill a grown man in seconds, but Steele's intervention had created the tactical opening they needed for child extraction under combat conditions. "Doc, child extraction now," Steele commanded without breaking eye contact with the grizzly, which was now focused on the adult male who had entered its territory rather than the small prey that no longer appeared to be the most immediate concern. Doc Patterson moved toward Tyler with the careful precision that 24 years of combat medicine had taught him, approaching the paralyzed child from an angle that kept Steele's body between Tyler and the bear. "Son, I'm going to pick you up and get you out of here," he said, in the calm voice he had used with wounded civilians in war zones around the world. Tyler's response was remarkable for a 9-year-old facing mortal terror. Instead of panicking or attempting to run, he followed Doc's instructions with the trust that children instinctively give to adults who project competence and protection under extreme pressure. His cooperation would prove crucial for the successful extraction that followed. If you're enjoying the story, write from which city you are listening to in the comments. The child extraction phase of the rescue required Steele to maintain his position as primary target, while Doc carried Tyler to safety behind the protective barrier of 7 motorcycles whose riders were prepared to engage the grizzly if it decided to attack their commander. "Package secured," Doc announced as he reached the protective perimeter with Tyler in his arms. "Child is unharmed, showing severe shock but no physical injuries." "Steele, get the hell out of there now," Bear commanded as the grizzly began showing increased agitation at the number of humans who had entered its territorial space. But Steele's withdrawal from his position between the grizzly and Tyler required the kind of tactical patience that Special Forces training had taught him to maintain even under overwhelming pressure. Moving too quickly could trigger the bear's charge instinct, while remaining too long increased the probability that territorial aggression would override predatory caution. The successful completion of Steele's withdrawal was achieved through coordinated distraction created by Scout Rodriguez, who used his motorcycle to generate movement and noise patterns that drew the grizzly's attention away from Steele's position while providing acoustic cover for his retreat to safety. "All units clear, predator deterred," Steele announced as he reached the protective formation. "Mission accomplished, 0 casualties, child secured." But the rescue operation was far from complete. The grizzly remained in an area frequented by hikers, campers, and families with children who could encounter the same predator that had nearly killed Tyler. The Iron Mountain Guardians had saved one child, but they now faced the responsibility of ensuring that no one else would be threatened by the same bear. Staff Sergeant Danny Ranger Davis, a former Park Service law enforcement officer whose wilderness training included coordination with wildlife management agencies, was already establishing communication with Glacier National Park rangers and Montana Fish, wildlife and parks officials who would be responsible for managing the grizzly encounter. Park Service ETA 40 minutes, Wildlife Management Team ETA 60 minutes, Ranger reported. "We need to maintain area security and provide witness testimony for the predation incident report until professional teams arrive." The area security mission required the Guardians to establish a perimeter that would prevent other hikers from entering the zone where the grizzly remained, while also providing detailed documentation of the predation behavior they had witnessed and interrupted. Tyler Madison's parents, Sarah and Robert Madison, arrived at the rescue site 35 minutes after the incident, having been contacted by park rangers who had been coordinated with by the Guardians through emergency communication networks. Their relief at finding their son alive and unharmed was overwhelming, but it was accompanied by the terrifying realization of how close they had come to losing Tyler to one of the most horrific deaths imaginable. "How can we ever thank you?" Sarah asked Steele as she held Tyler tightly, her voice shaking with emotions that ranged from gratitude to residual terror. "You saved our baby's life." "Ma'am, protecting children is our mission," Steele replied with quiet dignity. "Tyler's safe now, and that's what matters. Tell me, have you ever saved someone?" Robert Madison asked Steele, his voice filled with awe at the courage these strangers had shown for his son. If you've watched this far, say in the comments, what secret do you keep? The professional wildlife management response that followed was coordinated by Dr. Patricia Chen, a grizzly bear specialist who had been called in specifically to assess the predation incident and determine appropriate management actions for a bear that had demonstrated active hunting behavior toward humans. This grizzly exhibited clear predatory stalking behavior rather than defensive territorial response, Dr. Chen reported as the wildlife team prepared their assessment equipment. The bear identified the child as prey and was conducting systematic predation. Without the biker's intervention, this would have resulted in a fatal attack. The assessment process required detailed documentation of the incident, examination of the scene for evidence of bear behavior patterns, and evaluation of the grizzly's current condition and threat level to determine appropriate management actions. During the wildlife management operation, the Guardians maintained protective security while also providing detailed testimony about the incident that would be crucial for determining how to prevent similar encounters in the future. Tyler's medical evaluation revealed no physical injuries, but documented severe psychological trauma that would require specialized counseling designed for children who had survived predator encounters. The experience of facing an 800-pound grizzly had created the kind of terror that could affect his development unless properly addressed. Dr. Sarah Martinez, the child psychologist who specialized in wilderness trauma, was impressed by Tyler's resilience and his positive response to the men who had saved his life. "Tyler shows remarkable emotional stability considering what he experienced," Dr. Martinez observed. "His trust in the Guardians suggests that he understands they represent safety and protection." The investigation into how Tyler had become separated from his family revealed gaps in wilderness safety education and family supervision that were common among tourists who underestimated the dangers of Glacier National Park's wildlife populations. This incident could have been prevented through better family communication and understanding of grizzly bear habitat and behavior, explained Park Ranger Michael Thompson during the incident briefing. The Guardian's rescue highlights the need for improved visitor education about wilderness safety. But for the Iron Mountain Guardians, prevention education was secondary to the knowledge that they had saved a child's life and demonstrated that military training could be effectively applied to civilian wilderness emergencies that exceeded the capabilities of traditional rescue services. The grizzly bear was ultimately relocated to a more remote area of the park where human contact would be minimal, avoiding the necessity of destroying an animal that had been following natural predatory instincts in its own territory. 8 months after his rescue from the grizzly bear, 9-year-old Tyler Madison had transformed from a traumatized child into a confident young wilderness enthusiast who had found an extended family of 8 protective uncles who had shown him that courage meant facing impossible odds to protect others. The Iron Mountain Guardians had not only saved his life, they had taught him that strength came from serving others and that real heroes were ordinary people who chose to run toward danger when someone needed help. Steele Morrison sat in Tyler's family living room in Kalispell, reviewing the latest wilderness safety education reports while the sound of motorcycles arriving for their monthly family gathering echoed from the mountain valley below. The modest cabin had been upgraded with advanced communication systems and emergency equipment, but more importantly, it had become the emotional headquarters of an organization that now understood their mission included not just rescue operations, but education and prevention that could save lives before emergencies occurred. The new wilderness safety protocols are working, Steele reported to Tyler's parents, as he studied the latest incident statistics from Glacier National Park. Bear-human encounters are down 60% since we implemented the education programs, and visitor compliance with safety guidelines has improved dramatically. Tyler smiled as he watched Guardian members setting up tables for their monthly strategy meeting, each of them veterans who had become his mentors, teachers, and the family that had taught him what courage really meant. His relationship with each Guardian was unique. Steele taught him leadership and decision-making. Bear shared wilderness survival skills. Doc provided medical training adapted for children. The relationship between Tyler and the Guardians had evolved far beyond the dramatic rescue that had brought them together. The young boy had become the inspiration for their expanded mission that now included wilderness education, family safety training, and youth development programs that taught children practical survival skills while building character and confidence. "Tell me about the Tyler Madison Wilderness Safety Foundation," his mother Sarah requested, noting the detailed program materials spread across Steele's briefcase related to the non-profit organization that had been established to prevent other children from facing the danger Tyler had survived. "We're now operating wilderness safety education programs throughout Montana, teaching families how to explore the outdoors safely while developing emergency response capabilities that can save lives when prevention isn't enough," Steele explained with enthusiasm. "Tyler's experience showed us that children can survive impossible situations when they have proper training and when adults are prepared to risk everything to protect them." 1. The Tyler Madison Wilderness Safety Foundation represented something unprecedented in outdoor education. Military veterans using their combat training and wilderness expertise to teach families practical survival skills while developing emergency response networks that could provide immediate intervention when civilians faced natural dangers. If you're enjoying the story, write from which city you are listening to in the comments. Dr. Sarah Martinez, the wilderness trauma psychologist who had been working with Tyler since his grisly encounter, was amazed by his emotional development and leadership abilities, despite surviving one of the most terrifying experiences a child could face. Tyler's recovery has exceeded every psychological prediction we made, she reported during a presentation to the American Association of Wilderness Medicine. His transformation demonstrates the powerful impact that positive adult relationships and purposeful activity can have on childhood trauma recovery. The secret to Tyler's remarkable healing wasn't just the therapy he had received. It was the Guardian's understanding that children who had faced mortal danger needed more than professional treatment to recover. They needed purpose, adventure, education, and the knowledge that their survival could help protect other children from similar dangers. Dr. Martinez's research had documented measurable improvements in Tyler's cognitive development, physical confidence, leadership skills, and emotional resilience that correlated directly with his involvement in wilderness safety education and his integration into the Guardian's mission-focused family structure. Tyler's case challenges conventional assumptions about childhood trauma recovery, Dr. Martinez explained to colleagues studying pediatric wilderness psychology. When children have access to purposeful activities that use their survival experience to help others, their healing capacity far exceeds what trauma psychology typically predicts. Doc Patterson had become Tyler's wilderness medicine instructor, using his Green Beret medical training to teach the boy advanced first aid skills, while also serving as his guide for understanding how medical knowledge could save lives in emergency situations. Tyler's not just learning first aid, he's learning to be a protector, Doc explained to wilderness education professionals who observed their training sessions. He understands that his survival gives him responsibilities to help other people prepare for and survive dangerous situations. The wilderness medicine training that Tyler received was adapted for his age and physical capabilities, but it included real skills that could make the difference between life and death for someone facing a medical emergency in remote locations where professional help might be hours away. "Tell me, have you ever saved someone?" Tyler asked Doc during one of their training sessions, eager to understand how he could use his knowledge to help others. Doc's answer became a teaching moment about service, preparation, and the responsibility that came with survival experience. "I've helped many people during my military service and with the Guardians," he explained, "but the most important thing I've learned is that saving people starts with being prepared and staying calm when others are scared." If you've watched this far, say in the comments, what secret do you keep? Bear Williams had applied his Marine Force recon training to developing Tyler's wilderness survival skills, teaching him advanced techniques for navigation, shelter construction, emergency signaling, and wildlife awareness that went far beyond typical youth outdoor education. Tyler faced the ultimate wilderness predator and survived because good adults were willing to risk their lives for him, Bear explained to wilderness education conferences throughout the Northwest. Now he's learning skills that could help him survive other dangerous situations and maybe help him save someone else who needs protection. Bear's approach to Tyler's education combined practical wilderness skills with character development that emphasized service to others, personal responsibility, and the kind of moral courage that had motivated the Guardians to risk their lives for a child they didn't know. Tyler's wilderness skills had advanced to levels that impressed professional guides and park rangers, but more importantly, he had developed the kind of calm confidence that could help him make good decisions under pressure and provide leadership when other people were frightened or confused. Scout Rodriguez had channeled his Army Ranger training into developing Tyler's tactical thinking and problem-solving abilities, teaching him to analyze dangerous situations and develop response strategies that used available resources effectively. Tyler learned about predators and survival the hard way, Scout explained to youth development professionals studying their programs. Now we're teaching him to think strategically about challenges and to understand that most problems can be solved when you stay calm and use your training. The tactical thinking skills that Tyler developed were applicable far beyond wilderness situations. He was learning to approach academic challenges, social conflicts, and family problems using systematic analysis and creative problem-solving that would serve him throughout his life. Tyler's teachers at Kalispell Elementary School reported that he showed exceptional leadership qualities, advanced critical thinking abilities, and a mature understanding of personal responsibility that influenced his entire class positively. Tyler has become a natural leader who helps other children solve problems and stay safe, observed his teacher, Mrs. Patricia Rodriguez, during parent conferences. He's learned to think before acting, but he's also learned to act decisively when action is needed. If you're enjoying the story, write from which city you are listening to in the comments. Thunder Martinez had established a youth emergency response program that taught children throughout Montana practical skills for surviving various types of emergencies while building their confidence and sense of personal responsibility. Children like Tyler face dangers that adults often create through poor planning, inadequate supervision, or lack of understanding about natural hazards, Thunder explained during presentations to state emergency management agencies. Our program teaches children practical skills for surviving dangerous situations while also educating adults about their responsibilities for creating safe environments. The youth emergency response training included age-appropriate instruction in first aid, emergency communication, basic survival skills, and coordination with adult emergency responders who could provide professional assistance when needed. Tyler had become the program's primary student instructor, helping other children learn safety skills while demonstrating that surviving scary experiences could make someone stronger rather than more fearful. His participation in training sessions throughout Montana had inspired hundreds of children to take emergency preparedness seriously. When Tyler tells other kids about staying calm and using their training during emergencies, they listen because he's actually survived something that would have killed most people, Thunder observed during program evaluations. He's living proof that children can be brave and smart when they need to be. Phoenix Martinez had developed a specialized family wilderness safety program that taught entire families how to explore the outdoors together while maintaining appropriate safety awareness and emergency response capabilities. Tyler's family learned wilderness safety the hard way when their son nearly died because of inadequate preparation and supervision, Phoenix explained to outdoor recreation organizations throughout the Northwest. Our program helps families develop the knowledge and skills they need to enjoy wilderness experiences safely. The family safety program included instruction in wildlife awareness, emergency communication, basic survival skills, and coordination with emergency response agencies that could provide professional assistance when wilderness emergencies exceeded family capabilities. Tyler's family had become the program's demonstration family, showing other parents how wilderness safety education could enhance rather than limit outdoor recreation experiences. Their example had been crucial for convincing other families to invest time in learning skills that could save lives. Tell me, have you ever saved someone? Tyler asked during family safety presentations, encouraging other children to understand their role in keeping their families safe during outdoor adventures. If you've watched this far, say in the comments, what secret do you keep? Ranger Davis had expanded his Park Service background to develop a comprehensive wilderness safety monitoring program that identified and addressed hazards in popular recreation areas before they could threaten visitors. Tyler's grisly encounter occurred in an area that had been identified as high risk for bear activity, but warning systems and visitor education were inadequate to prevent the incident, Ranger explained to National Park Service administrators. Our monitoring program helps park agencies maintain safety standards that protect visitors while preserving wildlife habitat. The wilderness monitoring program included regular hazard assessments, wildlife tracking, visitor education, and coordination with emergency response agencies to ensure that problems could be addressed before they created dangers for families and children. The program had identified and addressed dozens of potential safety hazards throughout Montana's wilderness areas, preventing conditions that could have led to serious injuries or deaths among recreational visitors. The annual Tyler Madison Day celebration had become the largest wilderness safety event in the Northwest, bringing together thousands of families whose lives had been touched by Tyler's story or the Guardian's wilderness safety programs. The event commemorated not just his rescue from the grizzly, but the ongoing work that had grown from that terrifying encounter. 8 months ago, I almost died because my family and I didn't know how to be safe in bear country. Tyler addressed the enormous crowd during the anniversary celebration, speaking with remarkable confidence for someone so young. Today, my Guardian family and I teach thousands of families how to explore the wilderness safely while being prepared to help each other when emergencies happen. The celebration included wilderness safety demonstrations, emergency response training, wildlife education presentations, and testimonials from families who had used safety skills to prevent or survive dangerous situations. 10-year-old Marcus Chen shared his experience using Tyler's safety training during a family camping trip. When our campfire got out of control and started a small forest fire, I remembered what Tyler taught us about emergency communication and staying calm. I helped my parents coordinate with Forest Service firefighters, and we got everyone to safety. Marcus's successful emergency response using techniques taught in Tyler's safety programs embodied everything the young boy and the Guardians were working to achieve through their wilderness education initiatives. 11-year-old Sofia Martinez told her story about helping an injured hiker during a family backpacking trip. When we found a man who had fallen and hurt his leg, I used the first aid skills Tyler taught me while my parents called for help. The paramedics said my care probably prevented serious complications. The community that had formed around Tyler's rescue represented something unprecedented in wilderness safety education. A sustainable collaboration between military veterans, outdoor recreation professionals, emergency response agencies, and families committed to exploring nature safely and responsibly. If you're enjoying the story, write from which city you are listening to in the comments. 2 years after his grisly encounter, Tyler Madison had been appointed as the youth spokesperson for the Montana Wilderness Safety Commission, where his programs and philosophy were being implemented throughout the state. The 9-year-old who had once faced death from an 800-pound predator was now influencing government policies that protected families throughout Montana's vast wilderness areas. The commission appointment represented official recognition of Tyler's unique expertise and the effectiveness of the veteran-led approach to wilderness safety education that had grown from his rescue. But for Tyler personally, it represented an opportunity to ensure that other children would never face the terror he had survived. Tyler's survival and leadership have demonstrated that children can not only recover from traumatic wilderness experiences, but can become powerful advocates for protecting other families, commented Dr. Robert Williams, the Commission's chair. His programs show how military veterans, wilderness professionals, and community members can work together to create safer outdoor recreation experiences. Tyler's first recommendation to the Commission was the establishment of state funding for community-based wilderness safety programs that combined veteran volunteer services with professional outdoor education and emergency response capabilities. His proposal was based on documented results from the Guardian's programs rather than theoretical approaches to outdoor safety. The Commission's unanimous approval of Tyler's recommendations led to the creation of the Montana Wilderness Protection Initiative, a state-funded program that provided grants for veteran organizations to develop wilderness safety education in coordination with schools, park agencies, and emergency services. The Guardian's wilderness safety model had been adopted by veteran organizations in 8 states, creating a network of volunteer emergency responders who understood that protecting communities required specialized attention to the unique dangers that families faced in wilderness environments. Tyler's work with the Commission required him to participate in meetings and presentations that challenged many adults. But his natural leadership abilities and his first-hand experience with wilderness danger made him an effective advocate for policies that addressed families' real needs. I can help lawmakers understand what families really need to be safe in the wilderness, because I've been in the worst danger possible and I know what it feels like to be helpless, Tyler explained to Commission members during policy discussions. Adults make better decisions when they remember that children depend on them to know how to keep everyone safe. Tell me, have you ever saved someone? Tyler asked Commission members, challenging them to understand their responsibility for creating policies that could prevent wilderness tragedies. If you've watched this far, say in the comments, what secret do you keep? 3 years after 8 motorcycles had converged on the sound of a child's scream in grizzly territory, the ripple effects of Tyler's rescue continued to spread throughout the Northwest and beyond. The Guardian's model of veteran-led wilderness safety education had been implemented in over 50 communities, creating a network of programs that had helped thousands of families develop survival skills while providing emergency response capabilities. The expansion had been carefully managed to ensure that safety standards and program effectiveness weren't compromised by rapid growth. New chapters were required to complete extensive training in wilderness medicine, survival skills, and youth education, demonstrating commitment to both veteran welfare and family safety. The Guardians had grown to over 200 active members across 6 states, with chapters providing emergency response, safety education, family training, and youth development services that served thousands of families annually. Their success with wilderness safety programming had attracted support from major outdoor recreation companies and government agencies. Tyler's influence extended beyond direct service delivery to fundamental changes in how communities understood the relationship between outdoor recreation and family safety. His programs demonstrated that effective wilderness protection required coordination between veteran expertise, professional services, and community education. Tyler taught us that every child saved from wilderness danger has the potential to save others. Steele reflected during his presentation at the International Wilderness Safety Conference. The boy we rescued from a grizzly has created programs that protect thousands of families from all kinds of outdoor dangers that preparation and training can prevent. The presentation brought together over 5,000 professionals from around the world who were studying innovative approaches to wilderness safety and outdoor recreation management. Tyler's story and the Guardian's programs had influenced safety policies in 12 countries. Tyler, now 11 years old and serving as the Guardian's Director of Youth Wilderness Education, had been chosen to address the international conference. His transformation from terrified victim to confident leader represented the kind of growth that effective support and purposeful activity could inspire. 3 years ago, I almost died because my family didn't understand how dangerous the wilderness could be, Tyler told the international audience with remarkable composure. Today, my Guardian family and I work every day to help families learn how to explore the outdoors safely while being prepared to help each other when dangerous things happen. If you're enjoying the story, write from which city you are listening to in the comments. 5 years after his rescue from the grizzly, Tyler Madison was serving as a youth consultant for the National Wilderness Safety Administration while maintaining his role as a student leader in the Guardian's expanded education programs. The boy who had once faced death from an apex predator was now helping develop policies that protected families throughout America's wilderness areas. The lesson I learned that day wasn't just that good people exist when you need help, Tyler told audiences at the National Wilderness Safety Conference, speaking with wisdom that exceeded his age. The lesson was that everyone has the responsibility to learn skills that could save lives, and that the scariest experiences can teach us how to help other people avoid the same dangers. Tyler's presentation included statistical analysis of 5 years of Guardian programs, over 20,000 families trained in wilderness safety, 15,000 children educated in survival skills, 10,000 adults certified in wilderness first aid, and measurable improvements in outdoor recreation safety throughout the Northwest. But Tyler's presentation focused more on individual stories than statistics. Specific examples of families who had used safety training to survive emergencies, children who had helped during outdoor crises, and communities that had developed comprehensive safety networks that prevented tragedies. These aren't just success stories, Tyler explained to the national audience with remarkable eloquence. These are proof that families can explore the wilderness safely when they prepare properly, and that communities can prevent tragedies when everyone understands their responsibility to help keep each other safe. The national attention had led to requests for technical assistance from wilderness management agencies throughout the world, as countries with large wilderness areas wanted to understand how veteran organizations could enhance outdoor recreation safety. 10 years after 8 bikers had heard a child scream in grizzly country, Tyler Madison continued to serve as a wilderness safety advocate while pursuing his education and maintaining his role as an inspiration for the Guardian's expanded mission. The organization had trained wilderness safety teams in over 20 states and had contributed to preventing hundreds of serious injuries and deaths in outdoor recreation. The location where Tyler had faced the grizzly had been converted into the Tyler Madison Wilderness Safety Education Center, a facility that provided training for families, guides, and emergency responders, while serving as a memorial to the courage that ordinary people could show when children needed protection. "Tell me, have you ever saved someone?" Tyler's story asked everyone who heard it, challenging them to understand that heroism wasn't just for people with special training, but for anyone willing to learn skills that could save lives and to act decisively when someone needed help. The grizzly that had stalked Tyler had been successfully relocated to remote wilderness, where human contact was minimal, living out its life in appropriate habitat, while Tyler's experience led to improved wildlife management policies that protected both animals and human visitors. The 8 bikers who had stopped everything to save one child from a grizzly had created a legacy that continued to protect families throughout North America's wilderness areas. Tyler's story demonstrated that heroes could appear anywhere, that courage could be learned and taught, and that the most terrifying experiences could become the foundation for helping countless other people avoid similar dangers. Tyler's legacy would continue for generations, proving that sometimes the smallest victims can inspire the largest safety movements, and that when good people commit to protecting families in dangerous environments, ordinary people can achieve extraordinary things that save innocent lives in America's most challenging wilderness.